William Jefferson Clinton, President of the United States of America. Close quote. That is the wide open range that we have given ourselves in this resolution, in contradistinction to the Democratic resolution, which wanted a narrow inquiry. That very issue was debated and voted on. And so the gentleman, the witness testimony is perfectly germane and consonant with House Resolution 581, and therefore the gentlelady's point of order is overruled and the witness will continue.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to appeal the ruling of the chair.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman.
Would you consult with your ranking member and see if...
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to vote on that ruling.
I withdraw that, but I raise my objection.
The gentlelady has...
I asked for a vote on that.
Well, now please, we're trying to move along, and I appreciate the...
In the sense of comedy, Mr. Chairman, I withdraw my desire for a vote.
I just asked for a vote, that's all.
Well, I'm going to deny my friend Mr. Bryant's request, and then you and I can struggle over the noon hour. But I would like to move ahead. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, my objection registered?
Oh, indeed, it's registered twice.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And we'll register it every half hour if you would like.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
The witness will continue, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In late 1997, we in our office considered whether this evidence that I've just described justified a referral to Congress. We drafted a report. But we concluded that it would be inconsistent with the statutory standard because of the difficulty of establishing the truth with a sufficient degree of confidence. We also weighed a prudential factor in reaching that decision. There were still two outstanding witnesses who might later corroborate or contradict the McDougal and Hale accounts, Jim Guy Tucker and Susan McDougal. In 1998, we were finally able to obtain information from Governor Tucker. It had taken 4 long years to hear from the governor. He pled guilty in a tax conspiracy case, and he ultimately testified before the Little Rock grand jury in March and April of this year. But he had little knowledge of the loan to Susan McDougal's fictitious company and the president's possible involvement in it. He did shed light on the overall transactions involving Castle Grande and Madison. Importantly, as to one subject, Governor Tucker exonerated the president regarding long-standing questions whether the president and Governor Tucker had a conversation about the Madison referrals in the White House in October 1993. The governor exonerated the president. The remaining witness who perhaps could shed light on the issue was Susan McDougal. And therein lies a story that has caused literally years of delay and added expense to the investigation. Because the proceeds from the fraudulent loan that Susan McDougal received had benefited the Clintons, the proceeds were to use to pay off obligations of the Whitewater Development Company, for which the Clintons were potentially personally liable. Susan McDougal was subpoenaed to testify before the grand jury in Little Rock in August 1996. She was asked several questions going to the very heart of the investigation, including these. Did you ever discuss your loan from David Hale with William Jefferson Clinton? To your knowledge, did William Jefferson Clinton testify truthfully during the course of your trial? Susan McDougal refused to answer any questions. District Judge Susan Weber Wright in Little Rock then held her in civil contempt, a decision later upheld unanimously by the United States Court of Appeals in St. Louis. The month of September 1996 was thus a crucial time for our office in its attempt to obtain Susan McDougal's lawful testimony. On September 23, 1996, just 2 weeks after Ms. McDougal had been found in contempt by Judge Wright, President Clinton was interviewed on PBS. The president said, "There's a lot of evidence to support," his words, "various charges that Susan McDougal had made against our office." But the president cited no evidence. The president's comments can reasonably be described as supportive of Ms. McDougal's decision to disobey the court order. So far as we are aware, no sitting president ever has publicly indicated his agreement with a convicted felon, stated reason for refusing to obey a federal court order to testify. Essentially, the President of the United States, the chief executive, sided with a convicted felon against the United States as represented by United States District Court Judge, now Chief Judge Susan Weber Wright, the United States Court of Appeals for the Eighth Circuit, and our office. The president was also asked in the interview whether he would consider pardoning Ms. McDougal. The president refused to rule out a pardon. The president's answers to these questions were roundly criticized. A New York Times editorial captured the point well, stating that the president's remarks undercut a legal process that is going forward in an orderly way. A separate area of our original investigation concerned the Rose Law Firm's work in 1985 and 1986 for Madison. It appeared that Rose
Dan Rather at CBS News World Headquarters in New York to give you an update on what you are watching. This is CBS News live coverage of the House Judiciary Committee's Impeach the President inquiry. Still on the witness stand in the final stretch of some 2 hours of testimony, the independent counsel, otherwise known as Special Prosecutor Kenneth Starr. He's making his case for what he sees as allegedly impeachable offenses by President Clinton.
State banking regulatory requirements and involved violations of federal criminal law. Grand jury subpoenas were issued in 1994 and 1995 to the Rose Law Firm and to the President and to Mrs. Clinton, seeking all documents relating to Madison and Casa Grande. We ultimately learned that Mrs. Clinton had performed some legal work related to Madison's Casa Grande IDC transactions. But the whole issue remained partially enshrouded in mystery as our office and the Senate Whitewater Committee investigated the issue in 1995. The problem was that some of the best evidence regarding Mrs.